as we emerge from our homes and return to the streets and plazas after this COVID outbreak. So without further ado, let's welcome Dani Floxx. Over to you,
Hello.
Dan.
Hello again. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Daniel. I'm a arts activist based in Budapest, Hungary. I've been involved with kind of public art projects for quite a long time now, and it kind of evolved from being a like graffiti artist painting more illegally in public spaces. It's kind of evolved into something a bit more organized within I am now organizing quite a lot of mural projects and working together with different organizations. This is like together with the Artivist Network as well, but also with like local councils and also different civil organizations and everybody who is trying to like doing something to do with human rights or environment. Yeah, so I would kind of like to start this webinar with kind of an introduction to what kind of made me realize how powerful public art can be, not just from the view of people who are watching it, but of the way of starting communication between people who are artists and people who are, for example, handling funding for regions. So I'd like to start with this picture. This is a wall in the outskirts of Budapest. It's in a very high visibility space, and basically somebody told me once that it's kind of that the most smart thing to do if you want to paint publicly is that if you don't do it without permission, because many people go to jail because of this. But what you can do is try to communicate and knock, and like, for example, knock on people's doors and actually offer to paint their walls free of charge, for example. So it's not about the money, it's more about you want to paint anyway, and why not try to do something which is kind of more for everyone, less than just, you know, where you can show yourself and where you're able to actually communicate with the people. So I went over to the old couple who lived in this building and just kind of explained to them this whole project, what we're doing, that like within the region we've painted loads of walls together, and yeah, just kind of just asked them if they would let us just paint their wall, and they said yeah, for sure, it's no problem. And so we started painting. This is quite a large wall, you'll see in a minute, and we were working on it a lot. Like, we were maybe 15 years old, and so I was out there all the time, and every day just working really hard in rain and snow and whatever, because we started during the winter. And as we were getting on to being close to finish, suddenly this happened. So yeah, this is what happens when the mall, which is on the other side of this wall, opposite from this wall, kind of noticed that this would be a great place to put some advertisement for Tesco or Aldi or Lidl or whatever. And I was taking the bus to go to paint, and I just realized what happened. And basically just the mall approached the people who lived there, and they just said, look, we'll give you this much money if we can put up these billboards. And since this whole area is kind of run down, of course they agreed. And I was just really, really sad. Both of us who were painting, and I painted it together with one of my friends who we kind of started off in this whole story of tagging and everything. And yeah, basically we were just thinking that like, well, they managed to like put the billboards on like the most important parts of the painting, so well, that's great. And I was just like really angry. So a week later, like, I had to take this bus when I was coming from school every day, and I suddenly just noticed that, oh, the billboards are gone. I was thinking like, what happened? So I went again and knocked on the door of this old couple again, and they said that, oh yeah, so it kind of turned out that the mall didn't have the right to advertise here, and the local council approached us, and actually they gave me this name card to give to you if you come to talk to us, and they said that they would like love to work together with you. So this whole story kind of led to basically the mayor, the council mayor, really liking what we were doing in like the area, because you could walk like 200 meters to the left, 200 meters to the right. We painted walls everywhere around this like larger part of the around this like just the district. And so basically I went to meet the mayor, and since then we've been working together on loads of projects. For example, this painting, it's a bit too bright, the whole, because it was very strong sunshine, but we painted this pheasant with this clock just before the COP21, the climate conference, the UN climate conference, which was held in Paris in 2015. So we painted this wall before that kind of as a representation of like the pheasant with many colors as all animals which are hunted for just sport or pleasure, carrying this clock, which is 5 minutes to midnight, which is kind of the symbol for like, you know, the minute before something is going to happen, the minute before we either reach change or something important, something drastical can happen. So we worked together with a person who makes videos, and we collected loads of footage of impacts of climate or just impacts of the human kind, like exploiting nature. And we kind of like made this video, which was kind of explaining the whole thing of the painting as well, and also explaining like what is happening in the world. So when I made this painting, then this is actually a school in the same district as where the previous picture was. And this school basically doesn't really have money for anything. So this means that you can see the rest of the building is really ugly. It's last time it was painted, it was before '89 probably, when socialism ended here. And just basically like also like on one side of like, you know, sending an important message, most of the people who go to this school are under 14. So it was really nice. We could have this kind of, have this like, just this like small workshop kind of, it wasn't a workshop, it was more of like a presentation of me saying what I'm doing and like why I think this is important. And for this wall, we could also invite like the local television, and they also put it in like the local newspapers. So people kind of started like thinking about what the meaning of this painting is, and also what like how nice it is that the environment can change in this like space, which is just extremely gray. Yeah, and since then, as working together with the Artivist Network, we started to paint walls also when the climate summit is happening. So for example, this picture it was painted in Katowice 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. And it was thanks to just some people who were really just extremely helpful and were really dedicated towards helping our collective to make something nice, and also to basically like, if you make something which is a large piece of art somewhere where lots of people can see it, people are not going to forget that something important happened here. That sometimes people think that, you know, there's just some protests, just some actions, and when people pass them, there's nothing left. It's the same way as, yeah, so it's just important. Like, this is a very good way to remind people that things we didn't change everything. This is still an issue which is happening. So this is going to stay there for quite a long time, and people can always renew this thought that, oh yeah, the climate summit happened here. What is going on since then? Yeah, this is just more of a picture of, this is all my work, by the way, which I'm showing at the moment. This is just about me for the first part. This is just like a clever bike dude going with a car as a backpack thing. You know what I mean? I'm sure you know what I mean, hopefully. Yeah, some jellyfish. If you've seen the past, the Artivist Network loves jellyfish. It can be made from like trash plastic through to paintings, through to whatever it is, to I think like party decoration, lights, whatever, to big heads, Medusa heads. Yeah, they are going to survive this climate crisis very well, because they are adapting extremely successfully. Yeah, more bike people and stuff. And yeah, I wanted to introduce this this technique, which I saw some videos of this like quite a few years back, and it's called cello graffiti. It's like not the most environmentally friendly tool you can use for any kind of public intervention, but at the same time, you might be in, for example, in a main square where it's not, if you're holding a placard, then some people will take some pictures and then that's it. They will like, you know, have this picture in their phone. But what you can do also is like, you just take this industrial cling film and you can also just stretch it between two lampposts. You can stretch it between trees. You can kind of put it anywhere. So this means that until somebody takes it down, this will stay there as a message. And also it's a performance which you're doing publicly. So when you start painting, people are going to stop. People are going to wonder what is going to be the outcome. So you can, even if there's actually no protest happening or no action happening, or if you yourself are the action, then you can actually gather quite a lot of people who are interested in what it is. And this way you can start talking to them about what your kind of your aim is, or why you're doing this. And this picture is in Paris. So this is in Paris during the COP21 again. And this was just after the terrorist attacks. And it was kind of very difficult for us to do any kind of disobedient action or anything, because they just kind of told us that we're not allowed to do it because of terrorist threats. And a lot of the things which were planned, they got cancelled because it was just it was just kind of impossible, because the French police are not nice anyway, and especially not nice in these times. So it was kind of a very nice way to just go to the main square, to Place Publique, and just stretch this big canvas. And it was actually really amazing, this this kind of feeling that so many people who were kind of just walking around anyway, they knew what was going on, like that the COP is happening, and that there's protests happening, and that there is human change happening. But when we stretched this plastic, then suddenly we had loads of people around us, like taking pictures, making videos, and loads of people who were just coming over to just kind of be more interested on, like, you know, so what is this? Or, you know, even though it's something which is kind of a very like symbolic kind of creature, they kind of got the idea that it's something connected to what's happening at the moment. So yeah, I really recommend this, because even if it's not something beautiful and artistic, like, you can just leave mobile banners all the way you're going. So it's it's a very useful tool. And yeah, this is another one of those. And through like all of these techniques, which I am talking about, kind of results like through a workshop, which I really like to do. It's basically what the aim of the Artivist Network is to support people who are activists and want to have more art in their actions, and also artists who are trying to use their talent or their ambition for something more useful. So through these workshops, what I kind of try to do is introduce tools to people who don't have artistic talent. So all of like what you see on this picture, none of it is actually made by, like, it's not freehand painting. It's nothing to do with, like, you know, do you have skills to make nice thin lines or anything. Basically all of these waves and these lines, they're just, I cut some pieces out of a sponge paint roller, and with that you can do perfect, beautiful lines. And it's like mixed with stencils and also with postering. So it's like the human image is not hand painted, it's actually just a poster image printed. So I will walk you through a bit more of these techniques as we carry on. Yeah, this is another image of murals we paint during the COP. This was made in Madrid on the Sociology and Politics campus, which is, I think it's one of the biggest universities in Madrid. Even though it's already a very radical campus, it was very interesting to also, still the same way as I said, to leave the reminder that something happened here, but we were able to like, through talking to the people who were helping us organize, we talked through different parts of like what questions are we discussing. So like through animal extinction, to movements, to climate justice, to deforestation, to the refugee crisis. Basically, we tried to cover everything in this like 35 meter wide mural, which was it was just a great thing, because from now, basically, this university is going to have this piece of art there, which we're just going to be talking about this until they decide to renovate the building, basically. But let's say that that's going to take a long time. So it's going to be there for a long time. More pictures of the painting. Yeah, and this painting, it was made, this is also in Budapest, and it was made together with an organization called HAND. It was a topic where the topic was basically illegal democracies, and I named this Break Free. Like, so you can see that one of the birds is just flying towards like this freedom, while the other one is still trapped in his chains. We also made a video for this, and it was kind of this international project where they asked street artists to paint something based on illiberal democracies. It was, I think, maybe 6 countries, and it was quite a nice campaign. Yeah. Yeah. Also, what you can do with trash. This is in Slovakia. It's at the Nasuti festival, which means dancing on the ruins. Here, basically, what it was is the people who were working in this space, they basically got this empty building and they renovated it, and they had all of this trash, which costs like tens of thousands of euros to take all the trash away. But they decided, like, hey, what would happen if we would use this money, which we need to spend anyway, to inviting artists to create something from all of this. And yeah, we got provided with all of the tools, and besides the wall, which I'm sitting on this picture, everything is just made from pieces of wood and stuff which I found there. And you can see that I put these like placards at the top of like this creature's head, which is like in the background you can see this like mining area, death, blackness, whatever. And in the head of this creature, it's all of the movement. If you look like Endegelande, Limitisme, Kudru, there is many things displayed on all of this. So it's kind of like this idea of like what is going on in your head while all these things are happening to you. So yeah, and that was me. That was about me. So yeah, I would like to carry on to this whole. I would like to introduce you to the world of street art and graffiti, because many people kind of think that I am painting a mural and it's lots of colors and everything, and people come and they say, oh wow, it's graffiti. Well, actually, this doesn't count as graffiti. It counts as maybe mural art or street art or something. Graffiti is something which comes from, well, at least most people say that it comes from New York, the early 80s, and it kind of came from the people who are extremely poor and want to express themselves. So this movement started off as kind of a cry out from people who were living in like a very rundown area and couldn't afford to go to art school, couldn't afford to visit galleries, couldn't afford to basically just have art in their regular day life. And so what do you do when you're missing all of this, but you yourself as an individual, or you with your group, want to send your message that you're here and you want to be heard? So at like the early 90s, they criminalized graffiti, and you can see that it's like police on the New York subway kind of there, because they started saying that the graffiti is making the crime, even though it's the graffiti is not stabbing people and it's not robbing people. It gives this feeling that no one is in control. But if you just take out the graffiti from these pictures, then I'll go back to the previous picture. Then what will you see on the subway? You only see advertisements. So it's like, who's in control then? Like, what's better? Is it better if the people are in control or if these companies are selling you something? So it's a very interesting question of like, when people commented to me when I was painting somewhere, that they said that like, why do you need to ruin our surroundings? Why do you who gives you permission to do this? And I thought like, well, who gives most of these companies the permission to advertise? Like, I'm not interested in bloody, how much I can buy this chicken wings for. Like, I don't care about the chicken wings. I will buy chicken wings if I want to. Don't climb into my mind. Also setting up this body standards, setting up fashion, everything is just, it's people who have money are able to influence your everyday life. And graffiti comes from people who don't have money for that to buy a giant billboard, but they do want to leave the sign that they are existing. So yeah, this is just another image of this. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to ask, I have these windows at the side where I can see all of you. Do you see all these windows as well, or do you see all of the pictures? Do you see the full image, or someone help me?
We see the image in this windows.
Okay, anyway, do you see that it says not very talented, or just not very tal? Okay, now that should be good. Cool. Okay, sorry, thank you. So basically, like, people who want to send all of these messages, it's like, the graffiti world has always been something which people kind of frowned upon and didn't like. But when you kind of, people are just creating, and this person, for example, is just actually making a joke of this, that people say, why didn't you go home and paint your own wall if you're so full of yourself? So this guy, he's going around and painting really true, really funny stuff about him actually not being talented. Yeah, and this is the other side. This is when you see that it's also, it's beautiful and everything, but you can see that when you look at this, then you're not looking at the scribbles on the left side. You're looking at this beautiful, beautiful image of a woman, this very sexual image, and you can kind of feel that this is when graffiti and street art kind of separates. And this is kind of the reason why the two worlds are really against each other, because when you're making this street art, then people suddenly start paying attention to you. And actually, even though this image is beautiful, it's not particularly made by someone who is like uneducated or anything. This artist is actually a really amazing artist, and she chooses to take public space without permission. But from the graffiti point of view, it's still not something, it's something when you're trying to please everyone. It's the graffiti world works in a closed way, and the street art world is trying to communicate out the way. So yeah, basically it's just this huge difference while people are not accepting each other within this movement. And if you look at, this is stencils, like everybody, at the moment they look at this, they'll be like, oh, wow, Banksy, amazing. It's like, this is not Banksy, this is actually Black Rat from Paris. But, everybody becomes Banksy in the eyes of someone. So it's, this is kind of when you look at this and then, everybody thinks Banksy, these paintings are Banksy's, and then you think that Banksy is selling a painting. Like they just cut the piece out of the wall and it's illegal for the house owner to paint over it because they sell it for like 2 billion pounds, while the actual like other people work on the street, they're going to jail for this. So it's it's a kind of very controversial idea, and this is what kind of brings this hatred from like graffiti artists to street art people. It's just basically this difference. Yeah, another image of Banksy. So basically, but what is kind of similar, which I would like to link up with kind of activism and artivism and the street art and graffiti movement, is that when you are doing an action or if you go on a mass protest, then you usually have an affinity group. So all of these people, they kind of, like all the people creating outside in the streets or subway tunnels or anywhere, it's also kind of built from an affinity group. So there is someone who goes to scout at the beginning if there's any security guard or if there's anybody hanging around or if you can see a police car. And then like some people go there and they start painting. And at the same time, maybe at both ends of the streets, there's 1-2 people being the rabbits, the people who are watching for someone to come. So you kind of have each other's back in this story and you're taking care of people and you form your affinity group based on trust. So all these closed communities, it's very similar to the activist groups. You choose people who are close to you and who you kind of have a similar mindset and message with, and then you do an action together. So yeah, this is I just, in case any of you did not know the difference between graffiti and street art. Yeah, so this is, I'm going to carry on to this part, which is it's a bit more meaningful, like this whole wheat pasting and brandalism. It's I'm kind of trying to, there's more differences between these. Like what I mean by wheat pasting is this more this like free art, which is very similar to street art, just like it's just an artistic way of doing stuff. Anyway, carrying on, I would like to share the first idea where it's not wheat pasted, it's like crowdfunded, for example. So our government in Hungary started this like really crazy, disgusting anti-immigration and like kind of like anti-everything who is not like white and Hungarian campaign, which you could see everywhere on the street. It was really awful. Like literally you would go on YouTube, you would be getting these adverts, you would go on Facebook, you would be getting these adverts, and then you go out on the street and you see these billboards, and you go in the subway, you see these billboards. And people got full of it. So like, it was really like anywhere you were going, you would just see this hatred. And it was super embarrassing, to be honest, like, walking in the city and like, really awful. So what happened is we have this, now they're an official political party. They're called the Two-Tailed Dog Party. And so they thought that like, okay, so we have all of these posters. How about we start a campaign where you can donate to us and also send us your ideas what to put on this poster. And and we will buy billboards. So what happened is basically like through this email address, you could they had this template and you could make your own template. So this came to this, which was like the most funny like anti-campaign I have ever seen. Same style, same color, same font. And, this poster, like, sorry about our prime minister, this actually is, it's not one poster. They managed to buy loads and loads and loads of billboards. And even when you came in from the border of Austria, what welcomed you wasn't this like hatred campaign. It was actually the first billboard you saw was sorry about our prime minister. So, it's impossible that, the government didn't see any of this. And it's a legal way. You cannot, if they decide to take it off, then, this kind of means that, they're corrupting themselves or like, showing this weakness. So they decided to leave it up. yeah, still for me, it's one of my favorite things which happened. It's like extremely funny. And yeah, just carrying back to this, what this poster says, it says that if you come to Hungary, you must respect our culture. And here, this next picture, it says it's the same poster, but people just went over with a paint roller and they said, Hungary needs culture. So this is another kind of way of, you know, just reusing what they've done and making a joke from it. So it was even really funny because they ended up like within the city, they were just placing secret police everywhere, just so that in case somebody was going to vandalize their posters, then they could stop them. But it's like ridiculous using so many resources because people are going to paint over their posters. Like, you know, they're just like through this campaign to manage to make like a huge fool of themselves. Yeah, another one, like just, you know, amazing. I love it. So good. Also, just even though this is not postering and wheat pasting, I just wanted to share this image of what this 2DL dog party is doing. Also, is that they are like, here we have like loads of cracks, and like our roads are pretty bad. They are getting better, but you know, they are always like renovating something, and every few years they need to renovate it because it's like, you know, they make a shitty job, and then the concrete cracks again. So what they started doing is kind of like, since they're kind of, everything they do was kind of donation based, and also when they wanted to become a political party, they got this campaigning funds. So they decided to distribute paint to people. You could go and ask for paint when you joined the 2DL dog party. Then you could ask for this set of this like 4 colors of paint, and loads of people were going around painting these like public spaces with the cracks, and lots and lots of people were getting fined for it. So it was extremely funny. Whereas it's like, yeah, also it's like you're doing something artistic, and people are, even though it's beautiful, people are still, you know, you're bringing a highlight to what your problem is. It's, you know, even though this is kind of a joke, at the same time, you know, people are seeing that how many cracks there are on the concrete, when like people who live in Hungary know that there's a lot of works happening all the time. It's like construction time most of the time. Yeah, so that's about the 2DL dog party, and I would like to carry on to the Brandalism collective. They are a Bristol-based they're a Bristol-based collective, and basically what their idea is, less than, even though they are, you know, Brandalism is the idea of, you know, you are like using a brand to the same way as 2DL dog party, you're using some image and turning it into something which is saying something more important than that. So it's like this picture, for example, is a part of a Nike campaign, and then they changed it to all of this, you know, this like aggressive to looting, when people were oh crap, I forgot what the date was and where it was, but anyway, where people started to break into the shops and started just stealing all of the stuff. So they started doing this, but the difference between 2DL dog party and Brandalism is the Brandalism's idea is to reclaim public space and replace ads with art. So they have loads of open calls to artists, and you can submit your work, and they put it on billboards. So it's this is, for example, again at the COP21 in Paris, is that they got loads of submissions, loads of art, and they had a huge printer. They were printing for a week or more, and in the end they had this like huge day of action where everybody got these like keys which you can kind of order from eBay, and you can use it to open this these advertisement boxes, and they were just walking around the city changing everything. Really good project. So this is also, it's like the Volkswagen scandal, we're sorry that we got caught. It's like so funny. It's so extremely funny. Oh yeah, I put this in the wrong place, but yeah, I would like to talk about this as well. This is not 2DL dog party, but it's Momentum. And what Momentum did is they had this like Stop Orban project, which is, this is a governmental billboard. So it's, you know, it's not Momentum it's like not Momentum's idea to do this billboard, but what the billboard says is let's stop Brussels, because Hungary uses Brussels as this kind of boogeyman for the West, trying to make decisions for us and trying to take our money and send illegal immigrants and gay people and terrorists and whatever, you know. So Brussels is kind of the boogeyman together with George Soros. So what Momentum did was they were giving out these posters they printed, and you could just get wheat paste or poster glue, and you could just get this Orban sign. And what you could do is you could get stickers and you could get the poster, and you could just basically go out on the street and just replace Brussels with Orban. So this, you could get on the subway, and they had all of these Stop Brussels, Stop Everything campaign by the government, and all you needed to do is just go and pick up. They were giving you the stickers in the subway entrance, so you could just take a bunch of stickers and just stick over the Brussels and just replace it with Orban. So it's, again, you're changing the person's message, and it's also, it's like the fine for this, it's like, it's nothing. Like, wheat pasting and stickering, it's like, you don't, basically nothing really happens if you get caught. They either make you take it off, or they give you like some kind of symbolic fine for it. This is more of the artistic wheat pasting part. This is Miss Kaka. She's a female artist from Budapest, and basically she's kind of using a lot of these like gender stereotypes and this like kind of this ideal body idea, and kind of mashing up all of these pictures of like fashion models, messages. So a lot of the times, like these, they're called these like babies. She calls them babies, and she's pasting them up all over the city. And all of them, a lot of the T-shirts which the image is wearing has like an important message. And kind of, it's like it's a joke at the same time, but it's very beautiful and very political, and loads of people love her for her work. So this is like more of the artistic side of, and this is wheat pasting, and it's more art, so it's not direct messaging. It's more just thought-provoking. And for all of this topic, I wanted to introduce you a program. It's called the Rasterbator. I know that it's kind of a funny name for a program. Basically, the whole thing of this program is it's stupid simple. Like even a cat could do it. And you just basically take a high-resolution image. You go on the page rasterbator.net. It gives you this amazing website, and you just click on create your poster. Next step, you can set your paper size. Here, like paper settings is like A4, A5, A3. You have many options, and you just choose like portrait or landscape. So it's like standing picture, or it's like horizontal or vertical picture. And you add the margins, which is like you use that to glue together the pages. So you can see here on the right side of the web page is that it's kind of dividing the image into these A4 sizes. So here, the output size, you can just add, it depends what size picture you want to create, but you can just make this, like gigantic picture. You just add like 4 sheets wide, 10 sheets wide, 12 sheets wide. And here on the bottom, the right bottom, it gives you like what the size it will be and how many papers it's going to consume, and what like the human preview, like this, the 180 centimeter tall human preview is kind of like this example of what you should measure your poster to. So after that, you just carry on. You can have these like loads of, you can choose an effect, and like I usually try to choose no effects, because I don't make so large images. But if you're making something like 10 times 5 meter big picture, but your resolution isn't so high, then you can just add this rasterbation, which means that it builds all of the thing then into dots. So when you're standing from a distance, then it seems like a whole picture, but when you go close, it's actually just divided into dots. So yeah, then you carry on. You can like check out, like to enlarge it to see what it's going to be like, and then you just click on complete poster, and done. So, and then you print it. It just downloads automatically onto your computer. So it's something really extremely simple and really cheap. Like you can imagine, like usually to paint a big mural, it costs quite a lot of money. But if you're using this program, then you can do it from like 20 euros. Ridiculously cheap, ridiculously simple. I very much recommend it. So we use this as in the Stop Sita, the Stop Sita's mobilize, or the Stop Sita. Sorry, I got mixed up in the words. Basically the big mass protest happened in Strasbourg, at the European Parliament, when they were going to sign the TTIP and CETA agreements of free trade. And you can see that this took us like we made a lot of it, but it took us a while. But, you know, if you have a night before the protest, you can make these hands like, you know, from €5. And it's quite a lot more effective than any like placard you're going to make on, you know, milk box cardboard with a crap marker. So here's the next one. Like, we were using this to kind of advertise for the mobilization of Ende Gelände, this mass disobedience kind of festival now. I would call it more a festival, happening in the mining area of Germany. This was in Berlin, so we just printed loads and loads of these people in the jumpsuits with the mask, which is kind of like the symbol of Ende Gelände, because everybody's, you know, to create masks, we wear the same outfits. So, you know, a camera can't identify you from, you know, from your face or anything. And nobody said anything. We were just walking on the streets postering, and we did get one comment, which was right when we were putting this poster. And the guy came and said, "Oh, wow, cool. There was a swastika under this and you covered it. Thanks so much. It's been really annoying." So, you know, you realize that once you're, you know, doing something not sneaky and open, people can actually like have quite a positive view on this. So, yeah. And this is in Hungary. I made this big poster of like Orbán Viktor is like a king with like all of this money in the background. He took like the St. Stephen's crown and like put it in his own office, and then, you know, you can look, and basically, you know, he is now working in the castle. So it's like, you know, it's like a really strong statement that he's the king. And yeah, during this protest, I made this rasterbated image, and it's I took it, and then it was like loads of homepages shared this image because they thought it was extremely funny. Like what it says, like "Elég lesz köszi," it just means like that's enough, thanks. So when I saw that so many people were like taking pictures and really liked it, I called some of my friends and I said like, "Hey guys, so there's another protest in a few days. How about we make like 30 of them?" And so what happened is basically we just like gathered at one of the friends' place. We just, you know, bought like, you know, a crate of beer, and then spent all of the night just like wheat pasting. And then we were just like standing there, and when people were coming to the protest, we just gave them basically this poster. And, you know, it cost us like €10 to make this 30 things, like 30 kind of really like visible and funny images. So we started putting like different messages, like, you know, "Welcome to Urbanistan, Russian colony," and just loads and loads of different funny messages. So, you know, this is an extremely good way to, for example, to make a larger art bill, because when you see people are interested in this stuff, then they're like interested in creating together, and, you know, to form a group, and to, you know, you can go to the protest with your group. So you can just basically send that letter to all of your friends and, "Hey, you know, donation-based resources, just, you know, come along, let's paint, let's wheat paste, let's do all of this stuff." So this is like all of this like postering thing. It's like you need no talent whatsoever, and you can create like loads of really funny visuals for a protest. Like, you know, you could see that it's like, you know, 10 people walking as like the prime minister with a crown. You know, super funny. Yeah. So carrying on, I would like to go to this like more political graffiti, and the murals. Like basically, like I chose artists and chose groups of graffiti artists who are doing something a bit more doing something more meaningful, as then, you know, at the same time, while just making something which is very beautiful art ways. Like in the vision of art, they're also trying to send messages. So it's kind of the same, like the controversial, like not controversial, sorry, like even though graffiti doesn't want to speak to the world, there are still a lot of groups who have an ideology behind it. So it's, you know, not just people who are like, you know, smoking weed and drinking beer all day and then like, you know, writing their name on stuff. So the first image is one from like one of the most world famous graffiti crews. It's called One Up, One United Power, and they started painting this "Leave No One Behind" on everywhere in Berlin, and like wherever they were traveling or wherever they have crew members, this was their new motto. They were painting it on trains and subway tunnels, on bridges, on the sides of buildings. And because the "Leave No One Behind" was the idea of the COVID-19, like that they are kind of trying to send this message that, you know, that we are all together and we leave no one behind. This picture is also in Berlin, and it's not definitely created by the One Up, but it's the same that, you know, their graffiti is using their own tool of illegal, quick actions to put our refugees welcome. So it's, you know, extremely powerful messaging. And since like the world has such an awful reaction to refugees wherever they come from, having this in your city is just something which gives you hope. This is just another painting. I'm not sure which country it's in. I just found it on the web, but it's, you know, anti-fascist area. So, you know, no cops and no Nazis. Yeah, this is kind of, you know, this is when it becomes something a bit more ideology based, and it's kind of important. It's kind of important that people actually acknowledge that, you know, graffiti artists aren't only wasting time for public space scribbling their names. They're actually, you know, doing something which is reminding people that we are together, that, you know, we unite. We are not, you know, that we should all stay together and help, and, you know, have solidarity. And, you know, there is no space for hatred, no space for alienation, no space for sexism or anything. So yeah, this kind of depends on which country you're in. So like, I would say that, you know, maybe Poland has more right-wing, like football ultras, graffiti people in Hungary as well. But, you know, you go to Germany, you go to France, you go to many places, you will find that most graffiti artists are actually anti-fascists. So it's, you know, it's coming from like this extreme left side, less than like people who just want to vandalize. Yeah, this is one of my favorite people. It's called Kidalt. He is based in Paris, and his target is to destroy luxury fashion businesses with a fire extinguisher he puts paint in. So this is, I don't think I need to say any more about this picture, to be honest. Like, you get the message. And this next one, you can see that, you know, one day everything is fine. Next morning you go, like, you know, all of the place is messed up, and, you know, it's with like paint, which, you know, this is a lot of work to do. Like, to clean this, it's a lot of work. And he's just going around doing this to every luxurious brand's shop in Paris, which he can put his hands on, or where there is like less cameras, or, you know, where it's kind of lower risk for him to do this. So yeah, okay, yeah. So the whole political part is like, you know, it's not, I don't just mean political, I just kind of mean that the people are kind of trying to send like a message of which is like either funny and, or, you know, something to do with like society. So like, only the internet can judge me. Like, that is so true. Like, you know, who else is judging you? Then people take a picture of something, and then, you know, everybody is on Facebook writing comments that, you know, I would break your hand if I saw you doing this, blah, blah, blah. So this guy, he's just, you know, this guy called Good Guy Boris, is, you know, just writing these very stupid, like very stupid, but also like, you know, very high risk spaces to paint. The same place. So like, you know, I think, yeah, it's probably, I think it's probably maybe in Athens, like pure and stupid, super funny. So, you know, he's using all of these questions, which are, you know, coming into his head, and also kind of like in a society way, really funny. Yeah. And this is something which is more like, which gets like more deep into the political part of like consumption and exploitation of nature and natural resources. So this is Blue. He's a street artist from Italy, as I know correct. Yeah, he's from Italy, and basically he goes around, and as I heard, he does very, you know, even if he is invited, like commissioned to paint something, he is not overcharging, even though he is a extremely famous artist, like really extremely famous in the world. And he is doing this wonderful, thought-provoking images, like extremely large scale, like really big, and he is using mainly wall paints. So his idea of the material he uses is kind of environmentally friendly at the same time. And this, oh, sorry, just coming back to Blue. The whole good story about this person is actually that since, as I said, he is doing work, and you know, he is trying to not exploit people who want art. But when somebody is exploiting his art, which was in Milan, as I know correctly, they basically built this whole like hotel based on like street art hotel, and his painting was, if you looked at the building, then this huge blue mural was there. So, and it was like really expensive hotel. So what happened is, like, during the night, he suddenly covered a big part of his mural. So this is the whole thing about, like, you know, somebody is creating art for, you know, trying to not, you know, oversell himself. And suddenly, you know, a big like hotel chain decides that, like, oh wow, what a great idea to use this art as like our thing, that we're so artistic, and, you know, we we support art and underground art and alternative art and public art. So they're just basically exploiting it. So he just painted over it, and from then on, you know, they were like, oh, you know, what do we do now? Just the same example, just an example that you know, how artists play with public space and surroundings. Like, you know, this is a painting done by Seth Globe Painter. So yeah, you can see that this electric cable is just used to link the two children up who are talking there. We're using this yogurt box phone thing. But it's a lot of cities are now starting to organize these mural festivals, which are extremely good, by the way. Like, it's wonderful that there is so much art being put into public space, but at the same time, they are not always paying so much money to the artists while they are getting extremely big funding for it. Like, just, it's kind of something I would like you to keep in mind when you look at beautiful art, is that not every time it is that the artist is actually appreciated monetarily. And yeah, that's not cool. Pay people, artists. Another really beautiful image is, like, you know, you can see the trees in front of the building, and the person just used the surroundings to create something really beautiful. And this is one of my favorite artists in the world. His name is Bordalo, and he's a Portuguese artist. And basically what he does is he goes to loads and loads of countries, and he's really world known. And what he does is he goes around in the city for a few days, and he's collecting trash. So basically what he does, he is making these, and he's painting these animals, which he tries to kind of, at the same time, focus on like local animal, or like local species of animals, and create this like extremely beautiful, like thought-provoking idea of, like, you know, this is trash he found in the streets or in the outskirts, like, you know, and he is using it to create art from it. But, you know, it's like he found this in a few days, and you know, it can be, you know, why is there so much trash everywhere? Not bad quality picture, but half of the fox is also made of trash. This is it's a Brazilian artist. Kind of, it's not a collective, because basically their name is Os Camões, if I'm saying it right. Correct me, people who speak Brazilian Portuguese. But basically they're twins, and what they're doing is using this this crazy element of culture in Brazil, of like all of these patterns and colors of their culture, to paint extremely large-scale, beautiful murals. I just kind of thought I would share this because it's just wonderful. Another one, like this whole idea of, like, you know, the face covered. It's a very important part of the graffiti world, because you know, you're trying to not be seen, you're trying to stay anonymous. And this is actually a collaboration with Blue. You can see that in the hand of this kind of, this is like a revolutionary person. You can see that they have a slingshot, if you call it slingshot, made of this like capitalist businessman. So, you know, they work together with Blue, and they create this like crazy image. Like the right side of the building is his work. So yeah, just another example. And they paint this kind of stuff illegally as well. Like, you know, they managed to just make this like wonderful like feelings of like just like cultural stuff, or like kind of cultural symbols in the style of street clothing. And, you know, they can paint something like so realistic on a train, like illegally. This is Inti. He's a artist based in Chile, and yeah, it's just, I had to show you because it's just mind blowing. More pictures. He uses loads and loads of symbolism. It's really worth it looking into his work, because you can find crazy stuff. And this is done by Ariz. He's a Catalonian street artist. And I just wanted to share this because of the kind of this melancholy, which is like amazingly beautiful. And then like a lot of female images which he uses, but also, you know, it's just a mixture of everything he does. It's really beautiful. And this is what takes us to the end of my presentation. So, you know, don't forget to wear the mask, people. Thank you very much for listening. And after Amlan introduces something, we will have some time for questions, if you have any.
All right, thanks, Dani. I think we'll go straight to the questions first, and then we'll introduce our next project that we have, actually. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, please unmute yourselves and ask your questions. And yeah, does anyone have anything to ask?
Hi everybody, it's Ming speaking. Thank you for your presentation. It was really, really inspiring.